let's make random numbers in Python. First, let's see where we are on my Linux machine. This is my home directory. I have 2 directories in there already. I'm going to make another one for this example. Now I'm going to make a file, and you should actually, in this scenario, not call your file random.py, and I'll show you why in a second here. But I'm going to call it demo.py. So to access the functionality of random numbers, you have to actually bring in the random number library. So random numbers aren't always available in Python. You have to specifically ask for that code to be brought into your code. So that's done with an import. So we're going to import a lot of different things over time, but random is the name for the functionality for random numbers. Next, I'll just make a random number and print it. And let's run that. There's a random number. If I press up, I can run it again. See how they're different. Presumably they're random. But all these are between 0 and 1. So that's the functionality called random with parentheses. That's a function. We have other kinds of functions that give us different kinds of ranges of numbers. So if I change this to random.uniform, I can ask for a specific range. So 0 to 10 perhaps. Uniform means uniform distribution, like every number is equally likely. And I might get decimal numbers, 0.5 or something. There are other distributions of random numbers that are not uniform. There might be like a normal curve, the bell curve. You might get numbers towards the center more often. But uniform means every number is equally likely. Let's run that. So you see how they're generating numbers between 0 and 10 now. If you wanted just the integer, there's another function for that. You can say rand_int. That'll give you back integers, which are not decimals. So that's what you'd probably use in a game or something, if you're kind of simulating dice. All right, now I wanted to show you why you should not name this file random. So to do that, I'll show you how to rename a file. So if you type ls, you see I have this file called demo. Move, mv, is how we rename files in Linux. So you can move it to random.py. That causes it to change its name. And now it's called random.py. And if you go into it, you'll see it's all the same stuff. Now, if I try to run this same code that worked before, it crashes. And it's crashing, you can see in the last part there, it says attribute error, random has no attribute rand_int, which is surprising. And it says the line of code was x equal random rand_int, and above that, import random. So it kind of had a problem with import random, I guess. And when you go back to the code, this import command says go find a Python file called random. And it looks in the current directory, and then it looks at in the other places where Python is installed. So it finds a file called random in the current directory. It's this file itself. So it kind of gets in this loop of trying to import itself. It never actually gets to import the real random library. So you got to be careful. I won't say often, but when this does happen, I get confused for a long time. It's not an often occurrence that it happens, but when it does, I'm surprised. And I don't know what to do for a while. So when you import, make sure your imports do not match the name of your file. So if we go back and rename this again, then it's happy again.